Thank you for the introduction, and good morning, everyone, and hope you are doing well and enjoying this day. So I was invited by Jonathan and Ruli to present here a webinar on starting your guitar program, starting a guitar program. And so this is actually a session that I have presented several times in my career. First doing it back in 2017, doing it at our FMEA All-State. I presented a session on that. I also did it for All National with NAfME, and I've also done it for our county here in Orange County Public Schools. So I am the Director of Guitar Studies here at Freedom High School, which is Orlando, Florida. We're very close to SeaWorld and Universal Studios and Disney World. So if any of you ever have a chance to bring your ensembles down to perform or do a trip, I'm always open to having my program do an articulation day where we share and play music together and just share what our programs are doing. I've done that before. So with if we can get started with all this, there's a saying that really stood out with me, and this is something from a master drummer and teacher's named Freddie Gruber. The approach to what you do results in what you get. And so I found over many years, including myself, because I'm a former band director, that there's a lot of guitar educators and teachers that have not learned guitar properly through formal training in school, either through high school or through college. There are not many college programs that offer guitar education. I know there are some that offer guitar in through a semester class. I know FSU does, so that all music education majors will have to do one semester of guitar before they go on, which I think is great, but I feel more schools should do that. So, but one thing is that guitar is a very popular form of music education. It's not very expensive to put together, and you're able to incorporate a section of students that otherwise would not join band or chorus or orchestra, or if you're fortunate enough to have these programs in your school, and drama, theater, piano, dance, just everything, so that you're able to do that. So you're able to get a certain segment of students into your classroom and into your program, and depending on how you do things, and you teach well and you support the kids, in a couple of years, you can actually have a full-fledged, full running 4-year guitar program. And so there's the biggest thing, though, is that to get administrators and colleagues in your department to support in what you're trying to do and trying to see a bigger picture. I know that some schools, collegiality can be really difficult, and everyone's competing for those students. But I will tell you this, that I see this across the United States, especially here at Freedom High School, that our music program, our performing arts department, we have about, in high school, we have about 40 to 45% annually of students in our student population in the performing arts. And I average, before COVID happened, because I'm still recovering from that, I usually have about 200 students or so in the guitar program each year. Right now, I'm about 175, so my numbers are coming back up, and we're doing that. So, but today we're going to cover about the essential items that you need to start a program, how to build and maintain a program, things that you need material-wise, class discipline assessment, concert performances, scheduling, pedagogy, and more. So we're going to get right into it. And so when you're getting started, you need to think about, why are you starting to teach guitar, or maybe why are you trying to build a guitar program? More often than not, it's, the teachers are trying to fill out their schedule. They're not able to, or they don't want to teach piano, and so they're teaching guitar. Some of them might be teaching guitar because they're forced to teach guitar. But I feel that you shouldn't have to be forced to do anything. I think that if you go at it with the right mindset, that it could be a really fun and enjoyable experience. Even, for example, right now with a unit of study that I'm doing with my beginners, we're working on power chords, like rock and roll songs and things like that. And I'm letting students bring in their electric guitars and amplifiers, and I have my own set of equipment. that the school has. And so we're working on just learning how to do that. And the kids have been having a lot of fun with that. And then my ensembles for our spring concert, we're getting ready for, we're actually putting together a pop concert. And so we're doing, pop and popular songs and things like that too. Songs that we've programmed include like Evil Ways, which is like Carlos Santana, Master Blaster from Stevie Wonder. We're working on Africa by Toto. And that's just a small thing of things that we're doing. Also Here, There, Everywhere, which is a ballad by the Beatles. That's just a small thing of things that we're doing. So you can have a lot of fun with all this stuff and just, be encouraging with it. Are you feeling an educational need? It's part of this PowerPoint here. Do you have a desire to teach a guitar program, and do you have administrative support? Again, if you go at it with the right way, you'll see that the administration is going to see the value of having guitar as part of the curriculum, of overall curriculum that you're offering to the students in your school. And it could become a very important, vital part of it, even up there with band, and because band's always about the marching band. But also, it shouldn't be about competition. It should be about sharing students and giving the students what they need. And that's the most important thing. So student cost, the most ideal situation is if your school or district is able to fund your guitar program completely. They provide all the method books, they provide all the money for the music, they provide giving you money to replace strings as needed and to upkeep instruments and to get other equipment such as like electric guitars and amplifiers and pedals and cables and you name it. Unfortunately, the reality is that that's not necessarily the case. So a typical fee that I see, this is not including like if you're taking like a guitar trip and you're going to go travel to a theme park, or you're going to travel to a university and take part in a guitar festival. The typical amount is about between $25 and $60 per year for a student fee. For first year students, it includes a book. Students write in and tear out worksheets, small ensemble music, string replacement. For my guitars, we change the strings 4 to 5 times a year because they're used every day, and that's a lot of use in playing them, and so they wear down and they need to be changed. And also equipment and repair, replacement of things. For second year and beyond, if you're actually creating a program, you're going to have like upper level guitar classes or ensembles. This might include having music folders, which is common for band, chorus, and orchestra. For my guitar program, we have our own music folders, Deer River music folders. Paying for clinician, festival, or MPA, musical performance assessment fees, transportation if you're going to be traveling to a festival, music purchases, string replacement, equipment purchases, and also we have our own guitar shirt that all my guitar ensemble students get. One thing that I recommend you do is that if you're able to check your district for any available grants that you could apply for. Additional grants that I have, well, I know what I've done a lot of is Donors Choose. Actually, I've had my every time I go through Donors Choose, I've always had it funded. And you have to be really careful about how you word it. Like, why is it that you need to get equipment for your program? Why you need to get strings, or why you need to get guitars for your program? If you articulate things very carefully and correctly, you're going to find people that are just willing to support you and give you the funding so you can make those purchases. So every year I've gotten anywhere between $500 to $1,000 worth of materials that I get from Donors Choose. And also for Orange County, we have our OC Foundation, and I've applied for grants, and I've always, again, it's all about the magic of writing and how you articulate it. I've always had those funded too for the past 10 years now. And actually last year I was fortunate enough, not only did I get an arts grant, but I also got a science grant, a music teacher getting a science grant, $3,000 science grant for guitar pedals. So I got a whole set of guitar pedals, but the thing is that there's electronics and sound and putting all that together. So I use the science of sound and electronics to, how things work, because there's some technical things that have to go into that. So I incorporated that into my lessons for our rock and roll and unit, things like that. So they're out there. You just need to, dig a little bit, and you'll find that just as long as you keep the price of what you're asking for reasonable, generally under $1,000, chances are if you articulate and you write a really good grant, you will get it funded. Anything over $1,000, I see people start kind of being a little bit wary of that, because when money comes in, they actually want to fund as many grants and many programs as possible. And if you're saying, well, I want $15,000 for this equipment, that's fine and dandy, but it's for one thing. And grants and foundations, they actually like to spread the money to try to affect as many students as possible. So you just want to be careful of that. So equipment recommendations. Now, you don't have to go with what I'm saying here, but my experience is these are good. So for if you have a program that has acoustic guitars, you want to use acoustic guitars, Rogue, Yamaha, and Mitchell. Right here, I have them PowerPoint. It's these particular models. They're good. They're not that expensive. Not that expensive. Around $150 or so. The only thing with acoustic, you have to have some considerations with acoustic guitars is, you need to pick to play the acoustic guitar, because it's mostly used for, like, strumming chords or maybe doing arpeggios. And if you are going to use your fingers, then you need to grow your nails out, so you're able to use your nails as plectrum, so you're able to pluck the strings. But one thing also is that for higher tension strings, yes, they're louder, but more calluses develop on your right hand because of the higher tension, because they are wire, and it's harder for, especially for like elementary and middle school students. I probably wouldn't recommend an acoustic guitar for beginners, because it's really hard for them to press the finger down to play the guitar. Classical, I think, would be more better way to go, because it's less tension, and also the neck is a little wider for them. And also, one thing to keep in mind for acoustic guitars is that the tuning machine gears, it's a little harder to keep them in tune. And also, because they're made of steel, they're not going to last as long. If you're in a very humid environment, they're going to rust kind of quickly, so you have to change them more frequently. And also, if the kids are not careful, because of the higher tensile strength that steel strings have, they could snap very easily. And so you have to be careful about it when you're teaching kids how to tune the guitar. You got to make sure they're not going too far and then tighten the string too much, and it'll snap, and all of a sudden it's like you got to replace one. For classical guitars, I've had really good experiences with the Yamaha C40. This seems like an industry standard of good baseline model. The Ibanez SGA3, and also through our ESSER grant that we got last year for our school in our district, I was able to purchase a whole class set of Ortega RST5 classical guitars. So now I have two sets of classical guitars. I have an older set, and then I have the Ortega newer set that I use for my guitar ensembles. The classical guitars are better for finger-style guitar playing. You can still use a pick to strum, chords and things like that, but it's more for like arpeggio and fingered-style playing. It has a quieter tone. The string tension is lower. And also, because they're nylon strings, even the bass strings, they're still wrapped in like steel, silver wire. There's a nylon filament inside. Those strings tend to last up to, depending on how long they're used and how much they're used, they could last up to 6 months before you change them. So just, again, something to keep in mind of the type of guitars that you want to purchase for your program, if you're able to do so. If you're going to be developing a 4-year guitar program, and you're going to be, you're all in, and you're going to be serious about it, I would recommend that you get 6 to 8 requinto guitars. Cordoba makes really good requinto guitars. They're tuned a fourth higher than a regular guitar. So instead of the low E string being your bass note, the A string actually be a bass note. And then also I would recommend that you're getting acoustic basses, 3 or 4 of them. Fender, Guild, and Dean make great products. The only reason why I recommend this is there's more music that's out now that actually is written for like a guitar orchestra, which uses the requintos and also acoustic basses. And one thing I like is that imagine like you have a choir and you're teaching vocal music, you're doing choir. but you only have a range of, okay, so I got soprano voice and I have an alto voice, but you don't have tenor or bass, but you want to add those voices in there. So adding in a requinto and adding acoustic basses takes your tonal palette and range of the ensemble and increases it by that much. And so sonically, just you're able to get a different depth of sound that you're getting from the ensemble, because now you have higher voices that the requintos can do, and you have acoustic basses that cover the low end. And one great thing about requintos is that even though it's tuned a fourth higher, just like in band, all the music is transposed for you. So all the student has to do is just, read the guitar as they normally do in a quinto, and they're able to play it, even though the instrument is transposed. So that's kind of a good thing. If you're getting into like, you want to do modern band and you want to do rock and roll type music and things like that, you'll need a electric bass guitar. Fender Ibanez, again, make good products. A Fender Rumble, this is like an example. There's a lot of different bass amps you can get. For me, what I got is a Fender Rumble 150 watt bass amp. It's really good, sounds great. And then also get a few electric guitars. Fender Squier or Ibanez Geo series. Those are very good beginner line models. You can get them for about $150, $175. And you're able to then, do power chords and things like that and incorporate that element of music into the ensemble stuff that you're playing. Also, for amplifiers for electric guitars, I would recommend a Fender Champion 100 combo guitar amp, or the Spider 5 60 watt amp. What a combo amp is that the effects are built into the amplifier. So it's a solid state amplifier. It's not a tube amplifier. So like reverb, delay, distortion, and chorus and other things like that are built into the amplifier. And you're able to tweak the knobs on the top of the amp to get the sound that you want. So you can get some flexibility and be able to do that. Time and space, not a theory of relativity. So these are pictures of my rooms. That there's one on the right is the room that I used to have. We've grown out of that, and now I'm in another room that's twice as big. And so you need to think about, how are you going to are you going to have a class set that the students can use, that the school purchased, or are the students going to bring their own? When I started my guitar program, the students brought their own, but I didn't have a way of storing them properly, and like things started getting misplaced. Nothing got stolen, misplaced. A couple of like necks got broken because things were crowded in the room. And so parents started to complain to administration that the equipment is not stored properly. And so the administration came to me and said, hey, Perez, we got a problem, which I already had an answer when they came in. I knew exactly what I wanted to say. So I said, okay, so if we're having storage is a problem, then you need to give me $25,000, and then I can get proper Winger storage cabinets to put around the room, or give me $6,000 and I could purchase a class set of guitars. So I played that game with them and said, well, it's $6,000 cheaper than 25. Here's the money. Here you go. Get a class set. And that's how we started having the class set that you see here. But now, because I have windows in the left picture, because I have windows in my room, I actually had the school purchase 3 Winger racks. So we're able to store the guitars. But also because of I have more guitars now, I actually went ahead and I built, based on the Winger model. I spent the school gave me $750, and I spent 2 weeks buying from Home Depot, sawing, cutting, drilling, painting, putting Winger style racks together. So some of the racks are ones that I built, but I even painted them the same color, which is oyster. So just to try to save some money. So, the more resourceful you can be, the more you can give to your students. So as I said, so what can you purchase for, $5,000 or $6,000? So you can get a class set of guitars, generally about 25 to 30 guitars, classic or acoustic. For guitar cases, I really don't recommend you get guitar bags, because they don't protect them, especially if you're going to plan you're going to take your group out and perform off campus. It's really recommend that you get a hard shell case so that the instrument itself will not get damaged. And then guitar holders, if you're not going to do the winger racks, you're able to buy guitar holders. They're about $7 to $10 each. That's what you saw in this room right here. These are all garden holders, and every guitar had a number. I use like little stickers, like use some mailboxes, like Mylar, and I stuck them to the back of the guitars. And so everyone was assigned a guitar. This is your guitar that you're going to use for the year, and they're hung up, and that's what we did. But now you're able to know what we do is we have them on storage racks that Winger has. But guitar holders work great if you're able to create that, and you drill them in your wall in your room. You're able to do that. For extra strings, I've always gotten my strings from Strings by Mail. They're wonderful to work with. They generally have everything in stock, and also they're very, very open to becoming a vendor for your school, for your district. John Wench, who owns the company, he's really, really good. And also, I found that getting things from them, it's actually cheaper than getting things from Amazon or from other companies. I found that the prices are a little more reasonable. For classical guitar strings, I recommend the EJ45 normal tension strings. These last a long time. They sound good. They work really well. I've had very good success with these, and actually professionals even use these strings too. But then if you're going to do acoustic guitar strings, I would recommend getting the Martin Bulk acoustic guitar strings. You can get the 80-20 bronze combination, or the 92-8 phosphorus light tension. I recommend light tension. If you go like medium or medium light, the tension, the string starts getting a little thick, and it's harder for students to press their fingers down. And with the bronze and phosphorus, one difference versus the other is that the bronze sounds a little darker in tone. The phosphorus combination has a little bit brighter tone. So just kind of something to keep that in mind too. And then for footstools, for classical guitars, I wouldn't recommend getting like the metal footstools like they can collapse, because those can be about $15 to $20 each. What I did is that I actually asked my theater department if they had any extra 2x4s, and said yeah. So I cut up a whole like about 70 2x4s to about 7.5 inches in length. And then what I do is that I you use 3 of them. So I put 2 of them together. I drill holes on 11 o'clock and 5 o'clock, 3 screws on each side. Then I flip it, drill 3-inch holes, screw them in, and hey, I have that. I have a proper, footstool that we can use. And then also they could be adjusted for like different lengths. And then what I also do, because we also use them sometimes for performances, that I have my students just for fun day, we painted them black, just so that it matches like the floor and the things aren't standing out. So we have that. Oh yeah. So, again, hang and store it. I already talked about the homemade or storage company made Winger. What can you afford, or what can your district afford, or your school can afford to help support you getting the equipment that you need for your room? Okay, teaching materials. These next 2 slides, I'm gonna gloss over these really quick, because I'm inviting all of you again, and please tell your colleagues that on May 20th, which is about a month and a half from now, on Saturday, I'm gonna North Carolina Music Association Music Educators is hosting me again to come back, and I'm going to talk about guitar curriculum and method books. And so what I'm going to do right here is just kind of gloss over some things that might be available. But during that webinar, a month and a half from now, I'm going to really go into detail about these and what positive, negatives about each book and each series that you can use. What would be good for middle school? What would be good for high school? So we'll cover all that. A popular one that a lot of educators use is the First Year Guitar, which is the hands-on training, the HOT method, by Nancy Marsters, Leah Welch, and Dr. Welch at Prassey. And I have the links here. As you can see, I have links for the First Year Guitar. And actually, if you have, you're going to be teaching for 2 years, there's also Second Year Guitar. The great thing about these is that there's units of study that are in chapters in the books. So covers on note reading, bar chords, arpeggio playing, chordal playing and doing songs, and playing in other alternate positions and things like that. It comes with rubrics for assessments, and also comes with pre-made written tests, and also teacher's manual that you get. If you purchase, I think, like 20, you get a teacher's manual automatically with that. And then you can use the tests in the back and assessments, the rubrics. You can copy them and give them to your students. I know we live in a digital world, but what I've done is that I've taken actually the assessments, the rubrics, and I've put them into Canvas. And so that's what we use for our school district. And so when I'm doing my tests for my students, I already have pre-made rubrics for each type of test that I want. And I will just pull that up, drop it in. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to use. It's all done. So I just digitized everything, and it took me a little bit to type everything in, but we have that. Other books that also exist, and again, I have links for all these as well. These are popular ones too, and they're just as good. Just a different a road of getting from point A to point B for the school year. We have the Alfred Basic Guitar Method 1 by Morty Manis. This is a popular one, which is the Alfred Classic Guitar Technique Volume 1 by Aaron Shearer. We have the Mel Bay 9th Grade Method and Higher by William Bay and Mike Christiansen. The Hal Leonard Superbook. And then also, this is like a combination book of everything, which is the Berkeley Press Modern Guitar Method for Guitar. The biggest thing that you need to decide is, you could choose a book that you want. The book is only going to be as effective as what you're going to do as a teacher using the resources that are there. The biggest thing that guitar teachers, if you've never done it before and you're getting into it, is you need to think about all of your days of teaching. I think the states require that we're supposed to have 180 days of classroom instruction. Now, you and I know that that's not a reality, because we're gone for professional development, we're gone for all state. We also have to shut down several days over the course of the year for like state mandated or local district tests, mandated tests that we have to do. Okay, so if you think about that reality, it's like, okay, that instead of 180 days, okay, maybe I only have like about 160 days I can work with. What are you going to teach each day, and what are you going to cover, and what are you going to review, and then when are you going to have your tests or assessments? So regardless of the book that you use, you need to make sure that you're planning out what course of study that you're going to do for each unit and how you're going to get from point A to point B. That's the biggest thing. And then once you're focused on that, you're going to be able to cover a lot of material over the course of the year. In addition to, these are ones that you pay for. There are also a couple of others that you don't have to pay for, they're free, they're available, but also other online resources that are just as good as well. And so we have the Classical Guitar Method by Branford Warner. This is the book that I'm using right now. The volume 1 is a free PDF, and it covers note reading and arpeggios really, really well. This one also right here, this is by Sven E. Thorsen. This is from the Classical Guitar School. That is by E. Thorlaxson. These guys are from Iceland, and they have a lot of materials for many methods, but also free. You can also pay for music, duets, trios, and quartets in different grades, from like grade 1 all the way through like grade 8, which is like professional level. That's available as well. And then also there's this one right here. This is something new. And I'm actually looking at this is by Lou Ward. This is the beginning guitar for the classroom. This is I think a really good source. I'm actually looking at this right now, and I might switch over from the Branford Warner to this one for next year. I'm doing daily, just reading through and my planning and things like that. There's some really valuable things in here that I'd like to have you consider and look at if you're looking at guitar books that you want to do. And then online, there's several online resources that you can do for guitar instruction with method books and class materials. Bill Swick, he's retired now, but he was in charge and director of the Las Vegas Guitar Academy in Las Vegas. And he has his own website, but also you can go online and become part of his he sends like weekly like emails and updates on things that you should be covering each week in your year. So, and he's a master teacher. He's been doing this for about 40 years. And so I value him. He's a really good friend, and he has a lot of amazing stuff in there. So Bill Swick is a strong consideration. Blue Guitar, this is something that's by Rob Pethel. He is part of our Guitar Council. He teaches in Atlanta, Georgia. He also has a very, very good curriculum as well. Bill Swick's method maybe tend more towards high school because that's what he taught. Whereas the Blue Guitar method, it might be really good for elementary. Yes, elementary and also middle school. There's some really valuable resources in here as well. And then Consonas Music Institute. This is another one that is by Mike Christiansen. He created this, and he has a lot of valuable, again, materials and methods and like, yearly progression of things you could do. And then also what he has on this site is also what's called blended learning. And what that is, and actually most books have these now, websites have these now, where you're able to have what's blended learning, a online resource and YouTube videos that you're able to see the lesson in action and get instruction other than from yourself. So all these have, all these methods have these different things in here. But especially Consonas with blended learning, it's like, you teach a lesson, but then there's also online lessons too as well. I see that in the chat here, we have something. So I'm going to take a second to pause my talk for a second. So Rue, are there any questions in the chat that we can address here really quick before we move on?
Chris, I do not see any questions in the chat.
Okay, all right. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and Dr. Holmes will give that to us, and then we'll answer them. So continuing with our next slide here. Oh, and again, all these materials I'm going to cover in my next webinar that North Carolina will have me be a part of on May 20th, Saturday, May 20th. So mark that in your calendar. We'll hope to see you there. And please tell your colleagues. So students' proficiency in their first year, what should they cover? Regardless if it's high school or middle school, a good foundation for students to be able to play. And it's like, I can actually learn, I've learned how to play guitar, and these are the skill sets that I've have before when I'm done with year one, which is playing basic first position chords and using the 1-4-1-5-7-1 chord changes. A lot of folk music and popular music has that. Also playing first and second position major scales. Scales are very important. A lot of music is based on scales. Okay. So C major, the major and also relative minor, C major, A minor, D major, F major, 1 flat, G major, E minor, and also A major. Covering E to E, that's from bass string to your top E string, top bass string E to your high E chromatic scale, or from G to G, 2-octave chromatic scale. Power chords, rock and blues, and also seeing blues scales to help with improv. And then also, which are those the scale degrees right here for doing improv and soloing. Arpeggios with chord changes, and also fifth position melodies. If your first year you taught all of these concepts and the kids are solid with them, they're going to be able to play a lot of music on guitar. I've found, and this is just the kind of like the tip of the iceberg. But your kids are going to be able to do a lot if they're able to cover these things. One thing that I've also dropped in here, which is a link, is that our Guitar Council, back in, it was like 2016 that we started, and we finally got finished. It took us about 18 months to do it, and a lot of talking and wrangling and discussing, that we came up with a 4-year list of best practices of what your students need to cover. And so I believe year one has 27 points that should be covered. Now it should be like, you're going to cover these things, but especially for someone that is not experienced in teaching guitar, It's a very good guide that, based on the method book and your teaching and your instruction materials that you're giving the kids, that you could check out. It's like, well, okay, well, we covered this concept and this and this and this and this. And so that's a very good list that you can use as a reference for what you're covering in the course of a year. So this is a very valuable resource, and this was published. We finally were able to publish it in 2018. So I suggest you go to here as well, so you can get more information on that.
Chris, we do have a question now.
Yes, yes.
What do you do with students who are left-handed dominant?
Okay, that's a very, very good question. So we got some Kurt Cobains in there. So this is how I address it. If a student is coming into your program, or you're coming in your class, and they may have already played a little bit, and if they've already purchased a guitar that is left-handed, then I would continue letting them play left-handed and let them do that. But one thing that you have to make sure you make modifications for is that when you're handing out and you're going through the book and you're going through instruction, that all the chords and everything that's there, especially chords, is going to be flipped the other way. So when you're looking at a chord chart, the strings go a certain way from, like, low E to high E. Well, with the left-handed guitar, it's flipped. And so now it's low E to high E. So it's reversed. So it's something that you're just going to have to be careful of when you're doing that. If I have a student that is a left-handed, just a left-handed dominant, that they write with the left hand, they do things with the left hand, but they've never played music before, then they don't have any preconceived notion of what it feels like to play. They're starting from the ground up. They're starting from ground zero. And so then I will have students start playing guitar traditionally right-handed, because they don't know otherwise. I've had students go through my program, though, that were left-handed when they came in, and I allowed them to be left-handed. One thing that I did is that depending on the year, because I always check to see, especially my beginners, any left-handed students, I will save one, sometimes maybe two guitars. And what I do is that I just restring them, and I literally flip the strings. So I just flip the strings the other way, and now, hey, it's a left-handed guitar. I know that the nut, which is right where the head of the guitar and the tuning machines are, and the neck, is reversed. I don't flip the nut, but the saddle for the classical or acoustic guitar, I'm able to just like take it out, because the saddle, you're able to replace it, and you're able to reverse. I just take it out and reverse it, and then I have it the other way. Depending on how it's filed, I may take some sandpaper and file, like sand down the top of the saddle just a little bit, so that it's it's more smooth, so the string won't get like caught and break and things like that too. So that's what I would do. That's what it is. So hopefully that answers your question. That's a very, very good question. So thank you for asking that. Appreciate it. Okay, so going on to this, another thing that students need to be able to do is be able to count rhythms. I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, we do rhythm drills and counting drills in our classrooms and our ensembles. It's like a basic thing. So there are different ones that are available that are free, but also available for purchase. One that I've used for many years was the vicfirth.com web rhythms by Norm Weinberg. This one has always been my go-to. What I did is I printed out all of them, and then I took it to our copy room, and I had them make like about 30 pages into a booklet. And then my students, over like once or twice a week, we'll spend about 5 minutes in powerful warm-up, and we'll just go through, okay, we're gonna do this rhythm drill today. Another one that's also good, and actually this one right here, this yellow book, this is how the book is. I used this book when I was in middle school and high school. I went through this whole book. I learned how to count from this book. It's the Joel Rothman books, Teaching Rhythm. This thing is awesome. It's invaluable. But another thing that also I actually purchased for my program, I went ahead and made purchase. I purchased a class set of 30 of them, is from FJH Music, Count Me In by Brian Ballinges and Darcy Voigt Williams. This one also is a very good book that starts students and gets them counting rhythms and things like that too. So all these right here. And also, I don't have this here, but I also put in our resources. There's another percussionist that is Josh Gottrey. I have unit A, B, C, and D as resources, rhythm resources in the folder that is I shared with all of you, that you can print those out and use them to help count and practice counting rhythms and working on drills and things like that too. So all these collectively, separately, or if you want to use a little bit of each, become very valuable, because then it's to me, it's like I always say, I'm gonna tell my students that if you know how to count it, you're gonna know how to play it. That's like my motto. So all these are very good resources for you to use. Just pick one, but then stay dedicated with it, and then apply it and use it and get the kids counting. So class discipline. I know that every school and community is different, and students coming in is different. I will tell you that the guitar student is very different than other students that would be in your performing arts department. But again, you want to have a guitar class or guitar program so you can reach that segment of population of students that otherwise would not be not be learning music from other classes, because they don't want to be in those things. Maybe guitar be for them and it speaks to them. The biggest thing that also you need to do is you want to maintain a high expectation of not only your teaching, but also of your student performance and how they are in the class. So long as you know what to teach and you're prepared, and you maintain well-planned and paced lessons and they're engaging, rehearsals, effective delivery. Again, I've been teaching now for 29 years. I'm about to finish my 29th year of teaching music. Effective delivery in the methods and things that you're giving to the kids is going to eliminate 99% of behavior problems. And so you want to make sure also that you want to communicate with parents and keep them informed of things that are going on. And the biggest thing that will also help is that by starting a guitar program, you're creating a new and exciting culture in your performing arts department in your school. One thing I've also found is that every quarter, especially Guitar 1 students, every quarter I rotate them around the room just so they're not used to being in one spot, seeing like the same wall in the same area of the room all the time. I think if you've seen veteran teachers in your colleagues in your classrooms, what they do is that every so often they change desks around. So like, okay, sometimes I have like 4 desks together so everyone's facing each other, because the teacher's going to have them work on a collaborative assignment. This is your team. This is what you're going to do. Sometimes they're in rows, sometimes they're like, different ways. So that's their way of like keeping the students engaged and doing different stuff. I do the same thing with my students as well. There are even times that I'll take normally my room is like fanned, like a arc, like I have row 1 arc, row 2 arc, just like traditional ensembles. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll do sectionals, and I'll have students working as like a micro group. And so I'll take the chairs and I'll have like little pods, 4 or 5 pods, small chairs around the room, and everyone's facing each other. It's okay, today you're going to be working on this, you're working together, here it is. And then I'm going to rotate around the room and check progress and help students along to what they're doing. Okay, don't be afraid to do that. Also, the biggest thing I found, which is about relationships with students, not appropriate relationships with students, is you want to get to know the students as a person and be interested in who they are as a person, how they're developing as a person, how they're growing. And you're going to find that if you're interested in them as a person and you're caring about them as an individual, that they're going to work for you and they're going to work with you, right? Kids are human, not droids. I'm a big Star Wars fan, so I love R2D2 and C3PO. One of the mottos that we have here in our Freedom High School Performing Arts Department is people first, music second. Our role as teachers is to mentor and to make the students comfortable and let them know that they have a safe place in your room, so that when you start working on the music, you shouldn't be surprised, because it's not magic, but when you have the good things in place, a lot of magic is going to happen in your room when you're working on music and creating things. And that's the kind of culture that you want to have. And if you have it in your choir, You could do it in guitar. It's very easy. If you have it in band, especially, okay, you especially the band culture, you spend more time together in band than you do at home, especially during the fall season between your rehearsals, inside and outside, and your football games, traveling on the bus and going to games and all this stuff. I get it. I was there. I taught band for many, many years. So I know the culture is like, but I took that concept of culture into my guitar program, and we are family. But even though my guitar family, yes, we're family, we're just a part of a bigger family that is our performing arts department. That's the kind of culture that you want to have as you're working with students. Okay. So assessments. So you want to have clearly defined rubrics for your assessments to cover your playing tests. Written tests are good to gauge mastery in theory items and terminology. You have to have assessments. You have to have something that's clearly defined, just so when you're grading, it's like, okay, here it is. You never want to do things arbitrary and saying, well, they kind of did okay, so I'm going to give them an A. No, be very defined on why you're giving them an A, or why you're giving them a B, why you're giving the grade that you are, because they're covering these things. They are doing these things to receive that grade. Make sure that you have that. For concert performances, some schools of my colleagues, they actually have their Guitar One students do concert performances. For me, because I have guitar ensembles and I'm busy enough as it is, my guitar ensembles do their performances. But for performances for Guitar One, we do things in class. We have in-class recitals, we do solos, master classes. I constantly bringing in teachers from around the United States to work with my program and students. I'm doing small ensembles. If you're able to, you can actually do an end of the year concert where each class can perform 2 or 3 simple songs. And even if you have like students that are quickly advancing, they can actually, have like a solo moment. They can perform, their own thing that they're working on. And again, even if you've had, don't be afraid to program, Bach to rock and everything in between. There's so much music that's out there that I'll cover that too a little bit with our curriculum, because I also want to get into music that you can purchase and also things that are online that are very valuable. But also, if you develop a healthy beginning program, then you're going to want students, they're going to want to continue. And then in the following years, instead of having like maybe 2 or 3 classes, hey, it's a popular thing, you might actually have 4 or 5 classes. And now you actually have students that want to continue. You have an audition process. Hey, now you actually have something that you're able to start a guitar ensemble, an intermediate guitar ensemble. And if you keep going, then maybe you'll actually have an advanced guitar ensemble. Now you have 6 classes or 7 classes of guitar, because you just created this wildfire that you can't stop. So you just kind of keep that in mind. For class scheduling, here at Freedom, 6 or 7 periods are of guitar for all ability levels. It's guitar classes are available from beginner to advanced. I generally have, depending on the year, 3 or 4 guitar 1 classes. I have 3 guitar ensembles that are ability based, and I have titles for them. I have guitar orchestra, which is my top group, Tasto and Ponticello, which is actually Tasto and Ponticello is like the type of playing, the sound that you can get out of the guitar. You can play Tasto, play Ponticello. But I also have some colleagues that name their ensembles after degrees of scale. A colleague of mine with his guitar program, he named his top group Aeolian. That's a cool name. And he has his other group, Ionian. You can get really creative with different names and things like that too, so don't be afraid to do that. And then I've had this actually for several years. I haven't had it because of COVID, things kind of came down, but I used to have a guitar conservatory, which is a private study for students that are going to major in music, playing guitar. They're either going to be performers or they're going to be music education teachers on guitar. And so I had a private study class just for those students, just so I'm able to give more attention and get them ready for their college auditions, and also make them participate in our all county. And I have an audition for our all state guitar ensembles as well. Beginner level classes should be for those who've never played before, or students that they can play songs, but they can only read tablature, if at all. If you have students that are coming in, they're too beginner, but they're 2, 3, 4 months in, I suggest that they wait, because you're far enough along that it's really not fair for that student that's behind and then they're gonna have to spend the rest of the year trying to catch up, and it could be really frustrating. And so it's really good if you're able to start students, right off the get-go. If you're able to, if you have administration that doesn't say that, well, we're just going to put them in guitar anyway, then hopefully you've created a healthy culture in your class that you might have some students that they're doing really well, they know what's going on, and actually what they can do is they could do peer-to-peer tutoring, helping, and then they can mentor the student that's behind and try to have, like, okay, we're going to do this together, let's get you caught up, and like rotate them around different students, just try to have them knock down tests and have them get caught up and things like that. Oh, this, by the way, all these students here are from my all county students that made all county several years ago. The gentleman right here, his name is Bobby Coble. He's a guitar professor at University of Central Florida and also Rollins College. And I've had him actually as an artist, a guest artist, for our concerts that we've done for the past, I think twice over the past 7 years. So he's a really good guy. And so all these students are all graduate on college now, and I miss them all. They're amazing. And so maybe that you will have an environment in your area that you might actually have several schools that are actually starting to thrive in guitar, and you're able to have like an all district festival or all county festival where you have your best students be a part of that. And you could bring in a guest clinician, and you're able to, or maybe a teacher who's like really good at teaching guitar, maybe they're like becoming better, and they're able to be a clinician. That's what happened with us. We started in 2012. And I was actually a clinician for the first high school group, and I've actually been a clinician for them and also other counties since then. We got to a point that the district was supporting us enough that we didn't have to, like, the guitar teachers were being our own clinicians, so we're able to start looking outside our district and around the state and also around the country, and bringing in clinicians from all the United States to work with us. So it's against what you want to create, you could create some fantastic things with that. So going beyond the second year, important factors is with administration. I know sometimes with administration, it could be contentious. You want to be friends and on good terms with your principal and your AP for instruction and curriculum. For us, that's the person that is in charge of our school schedule. So you'll make sure that that you have them on your side and they're supporting you, so that you're able to get not what you need, but what the students need. That's the biggest thing, what the students need. Financial support for music purchases. This includes guitar stands, folders. Deer River is a popular one that a lot of schools get their folders from. Music storage, better equipment, scheduling. The administration needs to cover and have your back. And so having the ability to, especially if you're going to go beyond the first year, it's really good if you have ability-based ensembles instead of sticking students of like all ability levels into one class. That could be very frustrating. It's not serving the students really well. It's to me, it's like kind of taking algebra students and then putting them with physics. Doesn't work really well. It's two completely different set of curricula. And with the different levels of teaching that I do, it's different curricula. Yes, it's guitar. It's like math is math, okay? But different curricula, there's different skill sets and different things that I'm working on. And I don't think any teacher can actually focus like half the time on one thing and then let the class go and then focus on another thing. Because then you're only giving half attention, and you want to give full attention to the full class on one thing and let them succeed at that. That's very, very important. If you do end up having enough support and you're being that rock star guitar teacher and you're developing a second year class or maybe a third year program, developing program, then you want to have an audition for a spot for an upper level ensemble. Generally, when I do auditions, it's not to exclude students, but just so I know where their ability level is, so I could place them in the appropriate level ensemble. I don't want to take a student that is maybe they want to continue, but they're struggling with some things, either technically or just reading, and place them in a high level guitar ensemble because they're going to get frustrated. It doesn't work. And vice versa. I don't want to take a high level student that can do a lot and they want to do a lot, and then they're playing students with students that can only do quarter notes still in first position. So you want to have that. But what I do for a final exam, and I have this on a rotation basis, I use the Segovia major minor melodic scales. It's available online, but also through Columbia Music you can get. I rotate between these scales each year. This year I'm doing the D major and B melodic minor scale. I'm doing that. And then for music, Doberman editions, and also the Bridges series, which is the Royal Conservatory of Music. There's some excellent books that are here. I have these as like a grade 1 solo, grade 2, 3 solo, and grade 4 or 5 solo that I have my students do. They can choose their solo. That's the other thing also, is at the end of the school year, especially with Guitar 1, you actually have to start, depending on how things go and how your teaching is, doing some differentiated instruction. And so even Guitar 1, I have students that, they're comfortable and then that all they can do is a grade 1 solo. And so I have that for them. But there's some that actually are ready to be challenged and they have a skill set that they could do more. I have a grade 2, 3 solo they can do. But then also I might have a couple of students that they really want that challenge. They read really well. They're very bright. They have a lot of facility in their fingers. They process things quickly. So I even let them go for a grade 4 or 5 level solo. So I have them do that. But again, all these are in different books. The Bridges series is a collection of 8 different books that are graded. Actually, 9 different books from initial preparatory all the way, which is like, beginning guitar level. After about like say 3 or 4 months, they can start doing some of the exercises and music that's in there, all the way to grade 8, which is like professional college and professional level music that they can do. And so there's another thing that's here that I wanted to say is Darren Au, he actually wrote this right when the pandemic hit. It was April 2020 that he wrote a open letter to administration. And so I have the link right here that you can go to. It's from NAfME, open letter to administration, that you can modify and use if you're trying to, like you type an email, it's like, I think we're ready to maybe start a guitar 1 class. There's a lot of interest and students want to do this. And so this can help with your cause, okay, and other supporting things. And so that's that online that you're able to look at and see and support. And so there are different music publishing sites for free music purchase. This is something that I'm going to work with Dr. Lee Holmes on. I'm putting more resources into, I think she said, Rue, how many resources do we have that I give you guys? Right? You say there's like about 15 or 16 in there right now? Correct. I gave you guys that, right? I gave you that. But I'm going to continue to give her more, especially with my next webinar that I'm doing a month and a half from now. I'm going to give her more information and give her more resources to put in there so that all of you educators are able to have access to and then utilize when and as you need them. If you're on Facebook, I highly recommend that you join one of the following groups that are here. School guitar teachers. This is the one that Bill Swick has, that he is an administrator for. I'm an administrator for these two as well. But for getting information on like, what are you teaching, what should you be teaching week 1, week 2, week 3, 4, for beginner, for intermediate, for advanced. This is a really good thing. But also what's great about the guitar, school guitar teachers is once you become a member, if you have a question, you put it into like, you type a question in, then once like the administration, like administrator, that's me, I'm one of them too, we approve it. It goes out into the internet, into the group. And then chances are within a day, you're probably gonna get about 7, 8, 10, 20 different responses on your question to help you. It's a very thriving, very helpful, very supportive group. And I highly recommend that you go on there. So if you have questions, you can put out to the universe and you're going to get the universe back to you, helping you and supporting you in what you do. And so I recommend that you go on to here. The links are right here. Also, this PowerPoint, it's also it's in the resources as well. So you can go to that and click on the on the different links that are there to get more information. And so that's all I have to say. I'm done. So my contact, my handles, as Darren, my colleague Darren Au says, my email, christopher.perez@osps.net. On Instagram, you could find me at skibane. That's a nickname that I have. It's a Rush term. It's my most favorite band in the whole world's Rush. I love Rush. I've seen them a lot of times. So one of their terms that they have is skibane. And also I'm a skier, so that's appropriate for me. And also on Facebook, you could find me on Facebook. I'd be happy to answer questions. I always do, at christopher.j.perez1. And so that's it. So on behalf of not only NAfME, but also the North Carolina Music Educators Association, I'd like to thank you for coming in and also for the invitation to come and to present this webinar. It's a privilege. And again, when I started this journey teaching guitar 17 years ago now, I'm getting old, 17 years ago, it was a frustrating experience initially. But once I had students that actually they cared about me as a person, they wanted me to be their teacher, that started the snowball rolling down the hill. And then I in Florida, I started asking questions about support for teaching guitar from different colleagues. And every time when I asked a question, it was a very healthy environment. I always got a response within a day. It's like, okay, Perez, try this, this, and this, and this. Okay, now you got that. Now try this. Now do this. Hey, program this. Look at this music. And eventually, I got enough information and teaching experience that I was able to start doing things on my own. And then people started coming to me, asking me questions. And so all I'm doing right now today with you is just paying everything forward on what I've learned. And it's been a wonderful opportunity. And again, the guitar community is a very, very supportive, very healthy, very thriving community that I hope that all of you can be a part of through teaching. And all it is just, getting administrative support and the desire, but also don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no such thing as a bad question. I've answered them all and I'll answer more of them, and I'm happy to. I love to, because I like to see my colleagues get better at what they do. So with that, again, I thank you so much. And again, May 20th, that's a month and a half from now, I'm gonna have another webinar that is again hosted by North Carolina Music Association. And so I like to see you here and bring some colleagues along. And we're gonna talk about curriculum and method books and delving into those and finding out what might be best for you and for your teaching style and for your students. So again, thank you so much, and I appreciate you all joining us today.